Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. So today, brand new month, brand new episode. I think you guys are going to love it. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. So let's get into to this one here. As you guys know, we're in September. The NBA season will be commencing towards the end of next month. Training camp should really start rounding up around, let me say, the ending of September to start training camp. And then, of course, you have preseason and all of that. So the ramp up is going to come up pretty quick. But nevertheless, every now and then news is made. Now, what were the big stories this offseason? The biggest stories, if we're talking about news that the media followed, was one, the Lakers drafting Bronny James to the 55th pick. That created a lot of conversation. It created conversation around nepotism and all of that. And then, of course, the Lakers signing J.J. Redick to a contract, as their new rookie coach. I think J.J. Redick's new contract, according to The Athletic, he signed a 4-year deal worth in the neighborhood of $8 million per season with the Lakers, according to sources briefed on the deal, wrote Sham Karinia, Sam Amick, and others. So J.J. Redick essentially is going to be making about $8 million a year to coach the Lakers team. Now, what's the backdrop with this team? The backdrop with the Lakers is that their team is really laden with veterans, in particular, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. As you guys know, LeBron James will be turning 40 years old this year, I think in November or December, one of those months. So he'll be 40 years old. Anthony Davis must be what? He must be in his 30s or heading towards his 30s. So the Lakers right now are in this win now mode, right? They want to win championships right now. However, looking at the landscape of the Western Conference is going to be a little bit difficult, given the teams that they have ahead of them, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Denver Nuggets, who beat them in 5 games. You have the Dallas Mavericks, who made it to the Western Conference, who made it to the NBA Finals. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder. You have them as well. So there are a lot of teams in the Western Conference that the Lakers are going to have to look past, and it left a lot of people scratching their head. It's one of the reasons it left a lot of people scratching their heads after the Lakers decided that they were going to go in the direction of a rookie head coach in J.J. Redick, who, might I add, had 0 coaching experience prior. He was not an assistant head coach, didn't coach collegiately, nothing like that, right? And it caused a lot of people to be skeptical of the Lakers making that decision. And one of these people that seems to be skeptical about the Lakers hiring J.J. Redick is Shaquille O'Neal. As you guys know, Shaq is one of the greatest Lakers that played of all time. He won 3 championships with the organization. And this morning I was doing some research and I came across an article from fadeawayworld.net, which basically had the following headline stating that it says Shaquille O'Neal admits he could never have played for J.J. Redick. So these are the comments that we want to get into. We want to get into this article right now. So let's get into what the article had to say. It said the hiring of J.J. Redick was met with vast approval from Laker fans, but it was also a major risk given his youth and lack of coaching experience. On his podcast, NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal revealed that he wouldn't have played for Redick had he been the coach of the Lakers when he was on the Lakers. You have LeBron's respect. What about the other guys? That's going to be the test, said O'Neal. I don't think I could have played for a guy who I just played against 4 or 5 years ago. No disrespect to JJ, but I think Sam should have been able to get the same looks. The article then continues on. Shaquille O'Neal has more authority than most to speak on what's happening with the Lakers. He's a legend of the game and an icon for the Lakers franchise. In 8 seasons in Los Angeles, the Diesel averaged 27 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game. He won 3 championships alongside Kobe Bryant and secured Finals MVP all 3 years. During his stint with the Purple and Gold, O'Neal played mostly under the legendary Phil Jackson, who had years of experience coaching Michael Jordan and the Bulls to 6 championships. Like most players at the time, O'Neal had great respect for Phil, and he tried his best to follow his lead and play how he wanted him to play. Fast forward to today, and the current man in charge of the locker room is a former NBA sharpshooter, J.J. Redick. When it's time to pick a new coach this summer, the Lakers initially pursued UConn's men coach Dan Hurley before eventually moving to Redick, who signed a 4-year, $32 million deal with the team. His modest career in the NBA earned him respect respect with his peers and his tenure in the media allowed the world to see the extent of his basketball knowledge. While it was enough to grant him the trust of Rob Pelinka and the team governor, Jeannie Buss, Redick may have a harder time getting players to buy in. It's only been 3 years since he retired, and many of the players active today have played against Redick at some point during his 15-year career. So that's what the article had to say there. What are my thoughts on what Shaq had to say? First of all, this is not the first time I've heard Shaquille O'Neal say things like this. Shaq has always said that it is easier for star players to listen to big name coaches over coaches who haven't really accomplished anything in the NBA. He said this before. He said that was one of the reasons it was very easy for him to follow in the footsteps of Phil Jackson and follow his instructions, quite frankly. He used to call, Stan Van Gundy, the master of panic, right? Because as you guys know, Stan Van Gundy, he would always show his emotions on the sideline. He said that he could never follow a coach like that, number one, that never won a championship, number two, that couldn't keep their emotions in check on the sideline, right? So for Shaq, he's always said this. In terms of other great players, do they feel the same way that Shaq feels? I think that there's some truth to that. I think that, but I don't know. I don't just think it's just in sports. I think that's in any endeavor, right? If you wanted to get into business and you wanted to be a businessman and you're looking for a mentor, and let's say you have a business that makes, I don't know, $1 million a year, and you're looking to take your business to the next level where maybe you can earn 5 to 10 million, chances are it's going to be easier for you to listen to a guy that's making 100 million a year and let that person mentor you, because they've been where you want to, they have been where you want to go, versus a guy who is making 1.5 million and he's here trying to lecture you or give advice on how to grow a business. It'll be quite difficult. So I think in other fields it's the same. In other disciplines, I think is the same. So I don't think that Shaq is saying anything that's controversial from that standpoint. But let's talk about what he brought up in terms of the dichotomy that will exist within the locker room between, when we're looking at players like LeBron James and Anthony Davis versus the other guys, because I think that's where things can get a little bit dicey. What do we know about JJ Redick and his relationship with the Lakers? We know that JJ Redick, prior to him taking the job as the Lakers head coach, he was a podcaster, and his podcasting partner was LeBron James. And LeBron James is the leader of that team, right? Which means that he's LeBron's guy. If you heard or if you paid attention early in the article, they said they tried to go after Dan Hurley initially. So it wasn't even the Lakers' first choice, according to a lot of reports. But given the fact that JJ's LeBron's guy, the question then becomes, what do the other people, in terms of other players, feel about JJ Redick? Because they know that given the fact that him and LeBron used to do a show together and all of that, that they have a close relationship, right? And it may kind of create this scenario where players are going to be thinking to themselves, is he going to coach all of us the same? Number one. Number two, in terms of instructions on the floor, philosophy, coaching schemes, defensive schemes, some players may ask, is this coming from JJ Redick or is this coming from LeBron James? And there will be this dynamic that exists within the locker room. That's number two. Number three, let's look at the other elephant in the room. Bronny, right? It is clear that Bronny is on the Lakers because LeBron James wanted him to be on the Lakers. If Bronny somehow makes the roster like a normal player, is he going to coach Bronny the exact same way he would coach every single player on that roster? Or is he going to make certain exceptions for Bronny because, well, I don't want to say this, I don't want to go on him this way because that's LeBron's son? These are all of the things that are going to be happening within the locker room. And this is going to be something that I think JJ Redick is going to have to deal with. I think he's going to have to win the other guys over, because none of those guys are going to come out there and say what they really think. They're not going to do it. Who's going to go out there and if the media asks them a question, oh, what do you think about JJ? They're all going to say, oh, we like it. They're all going to say that because you don't want to go against what the best player on the team wants. Now, you may feel differently privately, but publicly, that's going to be the stance that you're going to take. In terms of Anthony Davis, which I think is another important component of all of this, Anthony Davis is going to be the cornerstone of the Lakers going into the future. Is Anthony Davis 100% sold on JJ Redick being the head coach? That's something else we have to explore, right? Does Anthony Davis respect JJ enough? Again, JJ Redick has zero coaching experience. It's not like as if we're promoting a coach to the head coaching position in the Los Angeles Lakers that is coached somewhere else. If you look at Darvin Ham, he was an assistant head coach with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's one thing, right? So players can look at him and say, well, he does have some level of experience somewhat. But in the case of JJ, he has no experience, so the players going to trust him. Is JJ the first one to just take up I think Steve Kerr didn't have any coaching experience, but I think Steve Nash didn't have any coaching experience. So what happened with the Brooklyn Nets? So to me, but in the case of the Golden State Warriors, Mark Jackson and those guys had already established a culture that was thriving and a culture that was working. In the case of the Lakers, there is no culture. It's just utter turmoil. And it's easy to see given the turnover rate of their coaches. I mean, they're firing coaches left and right. This is the third coach in the last 4 or 5 years. You had excuse me. You had Frank Vogel, Darvin Ham. Now you have JJ Redick. This is the third coach in the last 4 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So to me, I think it's going to be interesting. I think Shaq brings up a good point. From JJ Redick's standpoint, apart from coaching the players, there's something else that I think we need to pay attention to. I think that the media going easy on JJ Redick, I think a lot of that is going to be correlated with how he interacts with the media. If you know anything about JJ Redick, he can be combative. He can be he can seem like somebody that's always pissed off. You heard him in the introductory press conference when he was up there cursing. We made a video about that. A lot of Lakers thought that was unbecoming for a Lakers head coach. They didn't like that, especially given the fact that you're a rookie head coach. Is he going to be pompous? Is he going to be a Mr. Know-It-All? What happens when a team goes through difficult stretches? How is he going to be able to handle that? I think all of those things are going to work towards whether or not JJ Redick is going to work out with the Lakers or not. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And I think that LeBron has to be the one that continuously publicly defends him because it's his guy. It can't be one of those things where it's like, you know, I support the guy being the coach of the Lakers, but now when things go wrong, you're on your own. I don't think it can be one of those things. I think if LeBron supports him publicly, even when they go through rough patches, people are going to be a little bit more forgiving with JJ Redick. These are my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about the points that Shaquille O'Neal made? Do you think they were fair, or do you think they were just totally unfair? Number 2, how do you see this season panning out in terms of JJ Redick with his first year being the Lakers head coach? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show.